Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rising Sign Astrology. I'm so glad you're here today. We'll be diving into April 2025 horoscopes, where I'll take you through how the monthly transits will impact each of the 12 rising signs. I apologize for the late upload, but I've just gotten this channel started and am playing a bit of catch up. I plan to be further ahead for future monthly horoscopes and videos. As a reminder, I use Western whole sign house astrology as my foundation, but I also love integrating Vedic interpretations where they add insight. So if you notice those influences, that's why. As always, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button so you get notified when I post new episodes. And if you find this helpful, drop a comment or give a thumbs up. It really helps with the algorithm. All right, let's dive in. April 2025 is a month of emotional clarity, energetic renewal, and fresh beginnings, as several key transits signal an important shift from inner reflection to forward movement. Things are going to start getting going, finally. The month begins on a contemplative note, though. But things start to lift as Mercury stations direct in Pisces on April 7th. This helps us untangle recent mental fog and brings intuitive insights into clearer focus. Just a few days later, the full moon in Libra on April 12th illuminates relationship dynamics, calling for balance, forgiveness, and a shift from me to we. While Venus also stations direct in Pisces the same day, restoring flow to matters of love, creativity, and connection that may have felt delayed or uncertain. As the energy builds, Mars enters Leo on April 17th, infusing our actions with courage, confidence, and of course, a dramatic flair, encouraging us to pursue passion projects or stand boldly in our truth. By April 27th, the new moon in Taurus offers a grounded opportunity to plant seeds for lasting abundance, whether through financial planning, creative efforts, or cultivating emotional security. The month ends on a fiery, flirtatious note with Venus entering Aries on April 30th, igniting boldness in love and inspiring us to take direct action in pursuing our desires. Overall, April 2025 is about embracing emotional authenticity, acting with purpose, and rebuilding our world with both passion and patience. Now, let's break it down by rising sign so you can get a better idea of how the monthly transits are activating your personal chart. Aries rising. April 2025 is a month of awakening, action, and deeper alignment for you, filled with dynamic energy, cosmic green lights, and powerful opportunities for reconnection, both with others and within yourself. Your chart ruler Mars is extremely active this month, making several key aspects that will push you to evolve emotionally, assert yourself with heart, and creatively pursue what sets your soul ablaze. With Mars beginning the month in the sensitive sign of Cancer, your fourth house of home, family, and foundations, and ending in the expressive Leo, your fifth house of romance, creativity, and joy, you're moving from the depth of emotional rooting into the brilliance of your self-expression. Mars is the engine of your chart, and this month it drives you from introspection to center stage. The theme will be strengthening your foundation so you can shine without apologies. The month starts on April 4th, with Mars in Cancer sextiling Uranus and Taurus. Mars in Cancer activates your fourth house of home and inner emotional stability, harmonizing with Uranus and Taurus, which occupies your second house of finances and self-worth. This transit has the potential to bring a surprising breakthrough in your domestic or financial situation. Perhaps a sudden shift around your living situation or a new stream of income rooted in something deeply personal arises. Because Mars is your ruler, this shift is not just external. It reaffirms your confidence and sense of autonomy. Real-life manifestations of this include receiving unexpected support to move or renovate your home, or discovering a spontaneous new way to monetize a talent that feels incredibly authentic to you. On the same day, Mars in Cancer will trine Saturn in Pisces. This aspect strengthens the emotional foundation you've been working to build. With Mars in your fourth house and Saturn in your 12th, this is about doing the inner work in a grounded way, healing through commitment, structure, and perhaps even spiritual discipline. You may feel motivated to address emotional patterns from the past, possibly through therapy or private reflection. Alternatively, this could manifest as a steadying influence in your home, a mature figure offering support, or a situation demanding emotional responsibility. You might find yourself working behind the scenes on a creative or spiritual project that demands solitude but brings you deep satisfaction. 2 days later, on April 6th, the Sun in Aries will sextile Jupiter in Gemini. The Sun in your first house of identity and Jupiter in your third house of communication, learning, and local environment spell good fortune. Your personal magnetism gets a boost, and your words carry more weight than usual. This is a fantastic time to pitch an idea, to speak your truth, or start a new skill-based venture. People are drawn to your enthusiasm and leadership. In real life, you could be launching a new business, starting a speaking or teaching gig, or simply experiencing a wave of confidence that helps you take bold steps towards your goals. On the same day, Venus in Pisces will trine Mars in Cancer. This is a watery trine that is going to link your 12th house of hidden realms with your 4th house of inner life. It's a deeply soothing and introspective energy where romance, art, and beauty will flow through private, emotionally nourishing channels. You might find joy in quiet moments, spiritual rituals, or nostalgic collections to the past. It's also a sensual transit, bringing intimacy behind closed doors. Possible manifestations include a quiet romantic reconnection that feels soul deep, or discovering a hidden talent or dream you're now ready to explore. On the next day, Venus in Pisces will conjunct Saturn in Pisces. Now those rose-colored glasses are coming off. Venus meets Saturn in your 12th house, urging you to confront illusions in love, money, or even self-worth. It may be a sobering realization, perhaps about a hidden dynamic in a relationship or a pattern that's kept you stuck. But this is also a chance to commit to what's real and sustainable. In practice, this could be the end of a secret relationship or the beginning of a spiritual or artistic discipline that requires devotion and sacrifice. On the same day, Mercury will go direct in Pisces. Mercury turning direct in your 12th house will allow your subconscious clarity to emerge. Over the past weeks, your mind may have felt foggy, especially around decisions involving healing, endings, or spirituality. At this point, intuition and logic will merge. You're better able to articulate what's been brewing beneath the surface. You might experience a breakthrough in therapy or journaling, or find clarity around a situation you've been avoiding. A dream could offer insight, or a quiet realization could shift your path. On April 12th, there will be a full moon in Libra. This will activate your 7th house of relationships, partnerships, and contracts. After the eclipse season's chaos, this moon calls for restoration and perhaps compromise. Any imbalances in your one-on-one connections are now illuminated. You may be asked to forgive, renegotiate, or release old dynamics to create peace. This can play out as a heart-to-heart with a significant other, or even making a decision about a business alliance. The key is to prioritize collaboration without sacrificing your needs. On the same day, Venus will also go direct in Pisces. With Venus moving forward in your 12th house, you're starting to emerge from a period of private reflection around love, finances, and desires. If you've been healing from a heartbreak or reconsidering what truly matters to you, now you're going to begin to integrate those lessons. It's a soft energy and ideal for creating from the heart or reopening yourself to love after a period of solitude. This could look like giving a loved one a second chance. It could look like giving yourself a second chance, or perhaps just returning to a creative practice that you've left behind. 3 days later, on April 15th, Mercury will enter Aries. Now, Mercury, the planet of communication, will go into your first house, revving up your mind and also your mouth. You're thinking faster, taking bolder actions, expressing your truth more unapologetically. This is a great time to launch a project that requires leadership or visibility. Mercury here also makes you more assertive, but beware of speaking too impulsively. You might start a podcast, revamp your social media presence, or become the go-to person in your field. The very next day, on April 16th, Mercury in Aries will conjunct Neptune. This transit could bring dreamlike visionary thinking, but also a potential for confusion or delusion. With Mercury and Neptune meeting in your first house, your ideas are infused with imagination and passion. Just be careful to ensure that you're not getting swept up in illusions or projecting fantasies onto other people. You may be inspired to write, paint, or launch something creatively bold, but make sure to fact check and double back before signing anything major. This could also manifest as a quick, intuitive flash or psychic insight that helps you better understand your next move. On the very next day, Mars will enter Leo. This is a significant shift for you. Mars is your chart ruler and is leaving watery Cancer and entering fiery Leo, lighting up your fifth house of creativity, romance, joy, and self-expression. Now you're no longer just processing emotions, you're acting on your desires. Your confidence will surge and you're ready to perform, flirt, and play. This will mark a high energy period for any artistic endeavors, passionate affairs, or even entrepreneurial ventures. You could fall head over heels into a new love or even a creative obsession, or take center stage in a literal or metaphorical way. On April 19th, the Sun will enter Taurus. The Sun shifting into your second house will bring focus to your values, income, and self-esteem. After the intensity of Aries season, it's time to ground yourself and start to build. You might be reviewing your finances, investing in something of value, or exploring what truly makes you feel secure. You'll feel more deliberate and steady, which supports the long-term vision sparked earlier in the month. You might begin to see tangible progress on a personal project or finally feel like you're coming home to yourself. The next day, Mercury in Aries will sextile Pluto in Aquarius. This is a powerful mental day. With Mercury in your first house, sextiling Pluto in your 11th, your voice carries magnetic, transformative weight. It's an excellent time to persuade, influence, or share something that matters to you in a public way. You might have a profound conversation with a friend or make a new key connection in a group setting. If you've been building a platform, now's the time to speak your truth and watch people respond with respect and possible opportunity. The very same day, the Sun in Taurus will square Mars in Leo. This tension between your second and fifth house will ask you to find balance between your pleasure and practicality. Your desires may be clashing with your resources, or your urge to express yourself is at odds with what's sustainable. You might want to splurge on something fun, but feel the pinch financially. Or you're pouring yourself into a creative or romantic pursuit that isn't really yielding results yet. Let the tension guide you and not block you. Patience and pacing is key. A few days later, on April 26th, Mars in Leo will oppose Pluto in Aquarius. This is an intense face-off between your 5th and 11th houses, and it could bring drama to group dynamics, especially where ego or control issues are arising. This will call back to early January, where the same aspect formed. There may be power struggles in a friendship, community, or creative collaboration. Do not get pulled into pettiness. This is a moment to assert yourself, your individuality, and your creative truth without alienating others. You may need to walk away from a group that no longer reflects who you are, or take a stand that reclaims your joy. On April 27th, there's a new moon in Taurus. This is a fresh start in your second house, and it invites you to plant seeds around money, values, and stability. It's the perfect time to set intentions related to building wealth, investing in yourself, or defining what truly matters. Think of this as your annual reset for self-worth. Whether it's a financial goal, a new business venture, or a commitment to self-love, this lunar moment asks you to tend to it with care, knowing in time it will bloom. Finally, on April 30th, Venus will enter Aries. Venus is entering your first house. You will become magnetic. Sorry. You're feeling yourself, and others are feeling you too. This is a time of attraction, flirtation, and beauty. You may be more focused on your appearance, your personal pleasure, or how others view you. With Mars now in your 5th, the cosmic lovers, Venus and Mars, are dancing in your most expressive houses. You could fall into a whirlwind romance, receive attention for your creativity, or simply radiate confidence. You are the main character now, so act like it. Good luck. Okay, my Taurus risings. April is a quietly transformative month for you. It will be rich with emotional depth, intuitive awakenings, and an invitation to merge your dreams with reality. As the month begins, much of the planetary activity is stirring in the spiritual and social sectors of your chart, preparing you for a deeper shift into personal renewal and self-actualization by the month's end. Your ruling planet Venus plays a leading role this month, not only engaging in several powerful aspects, but also stationing direct and then shifting into Aries at the tail end of the month. Venus is your cosmic compass, and the journey this month asks you to reevaluate your desires, boundaries, and relationship to pleasure, while also encouraging you to dream boldly and love with authenticity. As April unfolds, a new chapter begins, rooted in soulful longing, romantic possibilities, and the grounding presence of your own worth. The month starts on April 4th, where Saturn in Pisces will sextile Uranus in Taurus. This is a beautiful harmony between Saturn in your 11th house of long-term goals and Uranus in your first house of identity, bringing a rare opportunity to stabilize change. You may feel ready to bring a visionary idea or community-based project into the real world in real form, grounded by patience and a sustained effort. This is a transit that helps you innovate responsibly, using your wisdom and individuality to create something lasting. One manifestation might be stepping into a leadership role within a group or community, one that aligns with your values. Another could be a sudden but deeply considered decision to redefine your personal identity in a way that honors your freedom and maturity at the same time. On the same day, Mars in Cancer will sextile Uranus in Taurus. Mars, activating your third house of communication, learning, and local movement, will harmonize with Uranus in your sign. This transit ignites mental brilliance and quick thinking. You may receive news that prompts exciting change or speak up in a way that surprises even yourself. There's energy here for bold, authentic conversations and the courage to take calculated risks. Perhaps you suddenly decide to launch a new digital project or sign up for a course that redefines your skill set. Alternatively, a spontaneous trip or conversation with a sibling could also shake loose stagnant perspectives and boost your confidence. 2 days later, Venus in Pisces will trine Mars in Cancer. With Venus in your 11th house of friendship and Mars in your third, there's a gentle yet flirty energy coursing through your social and local life. This is a day to enjoy casual pleasures, romantic conversations, group outings, or artistic collaborations that feel uplifting and deeply resonant. It's an ideal time to reach out to a crush, reconnect with a friend, or enjoy a spontaneous adventure that could lift your spirits. This could manifest as an encounter with someone you feel instantly aligned with, or discovering that a friend feels more than friendly. 1 day later, Venus in Pisces will conjunct Saturn in Pisces. Here comes the reality check. As Venus co-joins Saturn in your 11th house, you're being asked to evaluate connections, desires, and a sense of belonging with honesty. If you've been idealizing a group, idealizing a friendship, or even a dream, you may now start to see the cracks or the commitment that it's going to require. There's a sobering but clarifying energy to this day. You might find yourself ending a social tie that no longer supports your growth, or alternatively, solidifying a goal with serious long-term potential, such as joining a professional network or dedicating yourself to a cause that means something real to you. Shortly after the sobering Venus-Saturn meeting, Venus gets a breath of fresh air via sextile to Uranus in your first house. This energizing transit reminds you that love and connection can be spontaneous and liberating. You're being encouraged to embrace your uniqueness and let your heart guide you to unexpected pleasures. This could show up as a sudden opportunity to network with exciting people or surprise romantic encounter that feels electric and meaningful. Alternatively, you may find yourself drawn to a more unconventional vision for your future, one that reflects your changing values. A few days later, on April 12th, there's a full moon in Libra. This full moon highlights your 6th house of health, daily routines, and work. After eclipse season's intensity, this lunation is here to restore balance. You're being asked to assess how well your everyday life supports your long-term well-being. Are your routines truly sustainable? Are your efforts at work aligned with your bigger picture goals? This full moon might bring clarity around a job situation or a health habit that needs to be adjusted. On a practical level, it could manifest as leaving a work environment that's been draining or committing to a new health regime that brings you back into harmony. On the same day, Venus will go direct in Pisces. Your ruling planet finally goes direct in your 11th house, helping you to move forward after a period of reflection around your social life, friendships, and hopes for the future. Over the past several weeks, you may have been reevaluating what kind of connections truly nourish you, or revisiting past friendships or a collaborative goal. Now you're ready to take action. You might rejoin a group or a community with a fresh perspective, or take the first steps towards a dream that's been on your heart for a long time. A few days later, Mercury enters Aries. Mercury moves into your 12th house of solitude, dreams, and the subconscious. This is a quieter place for Mercury, encouraging introspection and internal dialogue. Communication may feel more private or symbolic, and you may be drawn to journaling, meditation, or spirituality at this time. You're not necessarily eager to speak out loud, but you're thinking deeply. This can be a powerful time for accessing hidden truths or working through mental blocks. You might have vivid dreams or intuitive insights, or uncover a piece of your past that helps you release old baggage. One day later, on April 16th, Mercury in Aries will conjunct Neptune. This aspect will enhance your intuitive mind, but can also blur the lines between fact and fantasy. With both planets in your 12th house, you may feel a bit adrift, but also inspired. This could be a beautiful time for creative writing, spiritual exploration, or emotional release through art or music. Just be cautious about making concrete decisions, as your judgment may be clouded by wishful thinking. You might experience a profound spiritual insight or become aware of a subconscious pattern that's been influencing your behavior. A few days later, the Sun will enter Taurus. This is your solar return season, so happy birthday. The Sun now illuminates your first house of self, identity, and personal presence, marking a fresh cycle of vitality and self-expression. With the retrogrades behind you, you're stepping into a more grounded and empowered version of yourself. This is an ideal time to focus on personal goals, refresh your appearance, or take bold steps towards what brings you joy and security. You're feeling more rooted and radiant, and others are noticing. The next day, on April 20th, Venus in Pisces will sextile Uranus in Taurus again. This is the second time this sextile plays out, reaffirming a theme of romantic and social surprise. Venus is still in your 11th, and Uranus is still in your 1st. This aspect encourages bold moves in love, creativity, and friendship. You may receive an exciting invitation or finally feel ready to pursue someone who's been on your mind. This transit wants you to take chances, especially when it comes to what your heart really desires. It could manifest as an unexpected breakthrough in a creative collaboration or meeting someone who radically shifts your view on relationships. On the same day, Sun in Taurus will square Mars in Leo. Now, tensions are going to rise between your first house of identity and your 4th house of home, family, and emotional foundations. You may feel a push-pull between asserting your independence and tending to domestic obligations. This could show up as a family disagreement or internal frustration about your current living situation. Try not to let pride create unnecessary drama. Instead, use this as fuel to make changes in your personal space that reflect your evolving self. 3 days later, on April 23rd, the Sun in Taurus will square Pluto in Aquarius. Here, the Sun in your sign squares Pluto in your 10th house of career and public life. This can bring up themes of power, control, and visibility. You may feel pressure to prove yourself, or encounter a power dynamic in your professional life that challenges your sense of self. It's a potent moment to reclaim your personal authority, but do that with strategic awareness. You might need to assert boundaries at work or reconsider how much of yourself you're willing to give to your public image. The next day, Venus and Pisces will conjunct Saturn. This exact conjunction repeats, deepening the call to emotional maturity in your 11th house. You're being asked to take your friendships, community roles, and aspirations seriously. If there is a dream that's felt out of reach, this is a moment to commit to it. Alternatively, you might experience a test in a friendship, one that helps you see who's truly in your corner and who's not. This is also an excellent time to formalize a creative or social collaboration that's aligned with your deeper purpose. 2 days later, on April 26th, Mars in Leo goes opposite Pluto in Aquarius. Now the tension between home and career will reach a boiling point. With Mars in your 4th and Pluto in your 10th, you may feel like you're being pulled in two directions. Domestic comfort versus public ambition. This opposition can trigger conflict, especially if someone is trying to dominate the narrative. Think back to early January. Power struggles are possible, but they can also reveal where you're ready to reclaim your strength. This could show up as a professional shakeup or a bold decision to relocate or reconfigure your family dynamics. But one day later, there's a new moon in Taurus. This is your personal new moon, unfolding in your first house and offering a reset. It's time to plant the seeds of your most authentic desires. Who are you becoming? What do you want to build over the next 6 months? Think about this. This lunation will encourage you to align your goals with your truest values and vision. You might begin a new chapter in self-care, launch a personal project, or make a big decision that reflects how much you've grown. The key is to trust yourself and be intentional. Finally, April 30th, Venus will enter Aries. As Venus enters your 12th house, the energy will shift inward. You may feel more introspective or romanticize solitude and spiritual love. This is a time to connect with your deeper desires, especially those that don't always make sense logically. Artistic inspiration, secret romances, or soulful self-care may call to you now. Alternatively, this could be the start of a private love affair or a period where you're falling in love with your inner world again. It's a magical ending to a month that's asked so much from your heart, and now will offer you peace. Have a great month. Good luck. Okay, my Gemini risings. April 2025 brings a refreshing sense of clarity and momentum, especially after the fog and delays of the recent retrogrades. This is a month where your ruling planet Mercury takes center stage, moving from murky Pisces into action-orientated Aries, and your mental, social, and professional spheres are reignited with purpose and confidence. As Mercury stations direct and shifts signs, you'll feel your energy sharpen and your vision return. This is a month for rekindling community, aligning your ideas with your ambitions, and planting new seeds in your subconscious and spiritual life as Taurus season begins. While the month starts with reflection and internal alignment, it crescendos with bold communication, magnetic energy, and deeper clarity about your direction. With Mercury activating the top of your chart and linking with Neptune and Pluto, you're being asked not just to think or speak, but to influence, inspire, and ultimately transform. On April 4th, Mars in Cancer forms a sextile to Uranus and Taurus, creating a quiet but potent alignment between your second house of money, values, and self-worth, and your 12th house of hidden matters, endings, and subconscious patterns. This is a great day to take action on a financial hunch or resolve something you've been working through behind the scenes. Perhaps a money-making idea you've been sitting on suddenly takes shape, or a private insight leads to a clearer sense of what you're truly worth. You might receive unexpected income through spiritual work, healing, or a behind-the-scenes effort. Alternatively, this could manifest as a long-standing anxiety around security suddenly loosening its grip, freeing you to think more creatively about your resources. 2 days later, on April 6th, the Sun in Aries sends a fortunate sextile to Jupiter in your first house, bringing a wave of optimism and opportunity. With the Sun lighting up your 11th house of friendships, goals, and community, this is a golden moment to network, align with visionary people, and say yes to something that expands your influence. Jupiter in your sign is helping you grow in visibility and charisma this year. And today, you might be seen, acknowledged, or celebrated in a way that boosts your confidence. A new connection or group alliance could open doors, or you may receive recognition for a leadership role in a collective project. April 7th makes a powerful turning point as Mercury, your ruling planet, goes direct in Pisces, clearing the fog that's been hovering over your 10th house of career and public image. Over the past few weeks, professional decisions may have felt uncertain, delayed, or obscured by confusion. Now your mind sharpens, your instincts realign, and your logic turns on. You begin to see a way forward. If you've been unsure about your career path, this is the day that clarity begins to return. You might finally receive a long-awaited answer or recognition, or simply feel your confidence in your vocational purpose restored. It's also an excellent day to revisit old conversations or projects with a more grounded perspective. A few days later, on April 12th, the full moon in Libra lands in your fifth house of creativity, romance, and self-expression. This lunation brings a peak moment of emotional truth in matters of the heart or artistic passion. Full moons reveal what's been hidden or building over time. So this could be a make or break moment for a romantic entanglement or a creative endeavor you've poured your heart into. It might manifest as the culmination of an art project or the deepening or even ending of a flirtation. Either way, this full moon asks you to balance your desire for pleasure with your need for authenticity and mutual support. Also on the 12th, Venus stations direct in Pisces, bringing movement back into your 10th house of career and visibility. You've likely been reassessing your professional image, work relationships, or desires related to success and public recognition. Now that Venus moves forward, you can act on these insights. Maybe you've decided to pivot towards work that feels more meaningful, or you finally feel ready to promote something you've been building. This could show up as receiving praise or attention for something previously overlooked, or finding harmony in your workplace after a period of tension or uncertainty. A few days later, April 15th brings Mercury ingressing into Aries, lighting up your 11th house and bringing your social life, goals, and public voice back online in a bold, confident way. Now your ideas are electric, your communication is energized, and your ability to lead through words is at its peak. This is a fantastic time to connect with allies, build momentum on group projects, or pitch big ideas to your network. You might launch a website, organize an event, or start a movement. Your words are influential and people are listening. This also reorientates your mindset towards future planning and collaborative impact. The following day, April 16th, Mercury co-joins Neptune in Aries, in that same 11th house. This can be an inspired, visionary moment where your dreams for the future take form. But it also comes with the risk of over-idealizing connections or ideas. Make sure to ground your insights before running with them. You might be swept up in some utopian vision or convinced by someone else's charisma, so listen to your own intuition, but back it with discernment. On a more constructive note, this can be a wonderful day for channeling your creativity into a collaborative writing or digital storytelling event. On April 17th, Mars moves into Leo, igniting your third house of communication, learning, and local environment. This shift will boost your verbal firepower. You're sharp, assertive, and driven to make your voice heard. Mars here brings fast-paced movement in your day-to-day life. Conversations will begin to heat up. Writing projects, marketing will begin to accelerate. You may be on the move more than usual as well. This could look like beginning a short course, speaking at an event, or engaging in a passionate debate online or in your neighborhood. It's also a great time to take action into something you've been talking about until now. The Sun enters Taurus on April 19th, slipping into your 12th house and signaling a time for rest, reflection, and a spiritual recharge before next month. This part of the year is about preparing for a rebirth, tying up loose ends, and healing emotional residue. It's about retreating into your inner world. You might feel a strong need for solitude or peace, and it's wise to listen to that. Use the time to meditate, think, or simply get off the grid. You may be surprised about how much creative insight or healing can emerge from quiet stillness. The next day offers a spark of brilliance as Mercury sextiles Pluto in Aquarius, linking your 11th house of future vision with your 9th house of philosophy, travel, and expansion. Your words today can transform minds. This is an ideal time for public speaking, publishing, or aligning with influential people who share your long-range goals. You could have a deeply impactful conversation that shifts your worldview or opens the door to something exciting abroad or in higher education. Alternatively, this might be the day you commit to a cause or start sharing your wisdom in a more powerful way. A few days later, on April 24th, Venus will co-join Saturn in Pisces in your 10th house, bringing a serious tone to your professional life and public image. This is a sobering moment that invites commitment, structure, or boundaries around your ambitions. You may be asked to step into a leadership role, accept responsibility for a creative endeavor, or make a difficult choice in your career. This could manifest as signing a contract, setting stricter work-life boundaries, or redefining what success looks like for you. If a career or artistic dream has felt vague or idealistic, now is the time to bring form and discipline to it. 2 days later, there's a tense opposition between Mars in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius, stretching across your 3rd and 9th houses. This is an intense energy. Mars is the god of war, and Pluto is the god of transformation and ultimately doesn't take any prisoners. As I said, the energy could feel intense and even confrontational. It could bring clashing viewpoints, travel mishaps, or deep debates. You may find yourself defending your ideas against someone who wants to dominate the conversation, or you might be the one coming in too hot. On a higher level, this opposition could push you to express your truth with courage and face the shadow aspects of your thinking or belief system. Some advice: don't get drawn into unnecessary battles, but at the same time, do not shy away from your honest expressions either. The next day, there's a new moon in Taurus. This opens up a quiet but profound time in your 12th house. This lunation invites you to set intentions around healing, rest, spiritual practices, and releasing the past. Think of this new moon as an exhale before your inhale. This is the soil where the next year begins to germinate. You might begin a meditation practice, finally let go of a lingering emotional wound, or embark on a creative retreat. It's subtle, but powerful. Give yourself permission to move slowly and trust the growth is happening behind the scenes. Finally, on April 30th, Venus enters Aries, shifting into your 11th house and bringing fresh magnetism to your social world. After her time in sensitive Pisces, Venus in Aries is ready to play, to flirt, and boldly seek out connection. Your social life comes alive again, and you're drawn to groups, friendships, and dreams that feel exciting and forward-thinking. This is a fantastic time to rekindle friendships, attract attention for your creative or community projects, or meet someone through mutual friends who lights a spark in you. You're visible, desirable, and more daring in how you show love and pursue pleasure. Good luck this month. Okay, by Cancer risings. April is a deeply energizing and emotionally clarifying month for you. You're likely to feel a strong push towards personal growth, more authentic expression, and a restructuring of both inner and outer support systems. The presence of Mars in your sign during the first half of the month gives you a rare jolt of drive and determination, while the emphasis on Pisces and Taurus placements help you navigate both spiritual expansion and community building. But above all, this month belongs to the moon, your chart ruler, which is especially powerful as it governs your mood, intuition, and direction. With a dramatic full moon in Libra and a stabilizing new moon in Taurus, this is a month of emotional culmination and grounded new beginnings. These lunations highlight where you feel at home, both within yourself and your external world. The moon's movements will guide your choices, especially around family, belonging, and what truly sustains you. The month starts on April 4th. Mars in Cancer moving through your first house of self and identity. It forms a supportive sextile to Uranus and Taurus, which activates your 11th house of friendships, community, and long-term dreams. This aspect gives you a powerful burst of personal energy that aligns with exciting developments in your social or professional circles. If you've been wanting to step forward with a new look, assert your individuality, or lead a project, now is the moment. Real-life manifestations might include receiving a surprising offer from a friend or a group that puts you in the spotlight, or deciding to make a bold personal change, like a style revamp or a leadership move, that alters how others see you. That same day, Mars in Cancer also forms a trine to Saturn in Pisces in your 9th house, forming a grounded triangle between your personal will, your long-term philosophy, and your community. This aspect encourages you to take yourself seriously, especially regarding your beliefs, your education, or the expansion of your worldview. Perhaps you take a bold step towards a publishing or teaching opportunity, or decide to formalize a plan for travel, study, or spiritual practice. This may show up as you committing to a mentorship role or applying to a program that stretches your mind and purpose. The next day, on April 6th, a harmonious trine between Venus in Pisces and Mars in Cancer links your ninth and first houses, creating a magnetic, romantic, and even whimsical tone. Venus in the ninth house romanticizes travel, learning, and spiritual exploration, and her connection to Mars in your sign makes you particularly attractive and charming. This is a wonderful day to indulge in something meaningful and beautiful, an inspiring book, a soul-stirring conversation, or an artistic venture. Real-life expressions could include meeting someone while on a trip or in an educational setting, or feeling so confident in your self-expression that others naturally gravitate towards you. April 7th marks Mercury's station in Pisces, bringing a much-needed clarity to your ninth house of higher learning, long-distance matters, and belief systems. Over the last few weeks, confusion may have clouded your plans around travel, spiritual growth, or academic pursuits. Now, clarity begins to return. You may feel a sudden click around your personal philosophy or resolve an issue involving a teacher, a class, or publishing venture. Perhaps you now feel confident enough to share your story or teach what you've learned. The full moon in Libra on April 12th lands in your fourth house of home, family, and emotional roots. This is a deeply personal lunation that can bring closure, healing, or clarity around where you feel you belong. It follows a tumultuous eclipse season, and this full moon is about peacekeeping and reconciliation within your private life. You may have an emotional breakthrough around a family matter, or realize you need to change something about your living situation. For some, this could be a moment of moving a home or settling into a new understanding with a loved one. For others, it may be an emotional release that allows old family dynamics to be rebalanced. Also on April 12th, Venus stations direct in Pisces in your ninth house. This moment brings resolution and forward movement in areas related to love, travel, beliefs, and higher education. If a romantic situation involved long-distance dynamics or spiritual complications, things now begin to move forward. You might find renewed inspiration to share your worldview creatively or to re-engage with a philosophical or artistic practice that had gone dormant during the retrograde. April 15th brings Mercury's entry into Aries, igniting your 10th house of career, status, and public life. Now that your ruling planet is out of retrograde and Mercury, the planet of communication, is back in a direct and fiery sign, your professional voice grows stronger and more confident. You may feel called to lead, speak up, or pitch bold ideas that capture the attention of authority figures. This could look like making an announcement, stepping into a leadership role, or initiating a bold career move. You're thinking clearly and speaking decisively. The next day, Mercury conjuncts Neptune in Aries, your 10th house. This transit can bring inspired visions for your career, but may also blur the lines between reality and fantasy. Be mindful of communication in professional settings, but don't shy away from dreaming big either. You may receive a visionary idea that needs a bit more structure before it's implemented. You might also become a beacon for others, inspiring them through your imagination and empathy, particularly in leadership or mentorship roles. The next day, on April 17th, Mars leaves your sign and enters Leo, moving into your second house of income, values, and possessions. With Mars now activating your resource sector, you feel a surge of motivation to earn more, assert your value, and make bold financial decisions. This is a great time to go after a raise, launch a side hustle, or set new goals around money. The fire of Leo in this house can also push you to express yourself through material means, including indulging in luxury or taking pride in what you own. You might start monetizing a talent or take more pride in your ability to support others or yourself. A few days later, April 20th, delivers a jolt of high energy as the Sun in Taurus, your 11th house of networks and aspirations, squares Mars in Leo, your second house. This could spark tension between your goals and your resources. Perhaps you're pouring energy into a group project that is not paying off for you financially, or feeling torn between friendship obligations and your financial responsibilities. One way this could show up is feeling pressure to contribute more to a community or having a disagreement over money or values with a peer or a teammate. A few days later, the Sun in Taurus will square Pluto in Aquarius, intensifying dynamics between your social life and deeper, more vulnerable material or emotional resources. Pluto, now in your 8th house, digs into the hidden corners of intimacy, shared resources, and psychological transformation. This day may unearth something powerful around control, trust, or a group dynamic. A confrontation may occur around investments, or you may realize you've outgrown certain power structures within a group or a community. It's a day for bold truth-telling and deep insight. The opposition between Mars and Leo and Pluto in Aquarius 3 days later intensifies this energy even more, especially around financial entanglements and personal worth. Remember, Mars is the god of war, and Pluto is the planet of transformation, karma, and at the end of the day, does not take any prisoners. This aspect stretches across your 2nd and 8th houses, highlighting a tug of war between what's yours and what's shared. Issues involving loans, debts, or emotional vulnerability could flare up, demanding a rebalance of power. Think back to early January and what was happening then. You may be pushed to assert your financial independence, or set boundaries in a codependent situation. It can also be a potent day to reclaim your self-worth by standing your ground. On April 27th, there's a new moon in Taurus, planting seeds in your 11th house of friendships, collaborations, and future aspirations. This is a fertile moment to envision your long-term goals and align with people who genuinely support them. Whether you're launching a new community project, joining a like-minded group, or setting fresh intentions for your social life, this new moon invites you to invest in dreams that have staying power. You may decide to start a new friendship circle, join a professional network, or even reimagine what success looks like for yourself in the long term. Finally, as the month closes, Venus enters Aries on April 30th, lighting up your 10th house of career and public visibility. After a sensitive stint in Pisces, Venus in Aries is bold, charming, and assertive. And in your career house, she makes you highly visible and magnetic in the professional spaces. This is a great time to network, explore a new opportunity, or beautify your public image. You might be recognized for your talents or attract attention for your leadership and boldness. It's a perfect transit for making a daring pitch, applying for a promotion, or even stepping into a new and more glamorous role. Have a good month, and good luck. Okay, Leo rising. April 2025 is a month of powerful initiation, sharpened ambition, and an internal recalibration for you. It begins with deeply intuitive momentum stirring beneath the surface and crescendos into a bold self-expression and expansion of your career. This is a month of transition, from quiet inner work to public visibility. And the key player throughout is the sun, your chart ruler, who guides the spotlight wherever it goes. The sun spends the first part of April in Aries, your adventurous and exploratory 9th house, energizing your worldview, beliefs, and long-distance aspirations. Then it hits Taurus and shifts the focus to your 10th house of career and public reputation, asking you to solidify your goals and be seen in a new light. The entire month is about defining what success means to you, not just in terms of accomplishment, but in alignment with your truth. With the full moon and new moon activating your 3rd and 10th houses, April will ask you to find your voice and step into your leadership, but only after you've clarified what you're truly striving for. The month starts on April 4th. Mars in Cancer in your 12th house of hidden matters and subconscious energy makes a harmonious sextile to Uranus and Taurus, which occupies your 10th house of career and public life. This alignment brings sudden inspiration from beneath the surface, a powerful internal shift that propels you to act on a long percolating professional ambition. You may feel a burst of courage to take a leap in your career or decide to go public with the project you've been quietly building behind the scenes. Real life manifestations of this transit might include a surprise job opportunity that comes through a spiritual connection, or an inner epiphany that helps you break free of self sabotage and go after a public goal more confidently. Later that same day, Mars in Cancer forms a trine to Saturn in Pisces, connecting your 12th house with your 8th house of shared resources, transformation, and psychological healing. This is a powerful day to dive deep into emotional or spiritual work. The energy supports disciplined reflection and clearing of deep-seated fears. You might find the strength to break free from an unhealthy pattern or lean on someone trustworthy to help you navigate an inner transformation. This can also manifest as receiving help or funding from an unexpected source, perhaps a loan, grant, or inheritance that supports your next step, provided you approach it with maturity and integrity. April 6th brings a golden moment as the Sun in Aries, your chart ruler, makes a sextile to Jupiter in Gemini. The Sun shines from your 9th house of wisdom and travel, while Jupiter expands your 11th house of friendships and future plans. This is an excellent day for planning long-term goals, particularly those that involve publishing, teaching, or community leadership. You may feel an exhilarating surge of purpose or receive encouragement from a mentor or friend that opens your perspective in profound ways. This could show up as an invitation to speak at a gathering, join a visionary group, or even apply for a program or journey that elevates your path. The next day, Mercury stations direct in Pisces, clearing confusion in your 8th house of emotional entanglements, shared resources, and intimacy. Over the last few weeks, you've likely been deep in review, rethinking finances, processing emotional baggage, or navigating complex relational dynamics. Now, mental clarity begins to return. This shift allows for honest conversations, financial negotiations, or therapeutic breakthroughs to finally move forward. Real-life examples might include resolving a debt or finally having a transparent dialogue about trust or boundaries in a key relationship. The full moon in Libra on April 12th lands in your 3rd house of communication, local environment, and thought patterns. This lunation shines a light on how you relate to the people around you, siblings, co-workers, neighbors, and how you effectively express your ideas. There may be a need to clear the air, reconcile differences, or speak a truth that's been held back. For some, this could involve completing a writing or speaking project, or choosing to end a distracting commitment in order to focus more on your authentic voice. It's a good time to reevaluate how your daily routines and conversations reflect your values and bigger vision. That same day, Venus stations direct in Pisces, restoring flow and harmony to your 8th house after a season of emotional recalibration. You've likely spent the last several weeks examining your vulnerabilities, reconsidering financial arrangements, or reflecting on deep relational ties. Now you may feel more emotionally ready to open up. You may feel ready to ask for what you need, or even forgive past wounds. This might look like reconciling with a partner after a difficult financial or emotional period, or renegotiating a contract or shared agreement with fresh clarity. April 15th brings Mercury's entrance into Aries, energizing your 9th house once again. Here, Mercury finds boldness and speed, encouraging direct communication around your beliefs, big ideas, and future direction. You may feel inspired to share your insights publicly, begin studying something that excites you, or connect with people from different backgrounds. This is an excellent time for pitching ideas, exploring travel, or diving into academic work. Mercury's presence here strengthens your ability to communicate your truth and take intellectual risks. The very next day, Mercury meets Neptune in Aries, bringing dreamy or idealistic energy to your mental landscape. With both planets in your 9th house, you're offered a glimpse into the future, perhaps through a mystical or symbolic lens, but you'll need to check that your visions are grounded in reality. This could show up as an epiphany about your purpose or spiritual path, or even a surge of inspiration that drives a creative or academic project. On the flip side, avoid jumping to conclusions or making impulsive decisions based on unclear information. April 17th marks a major shift as Mars enters Leo, charging into your 1st house and infusing your identity with boldness, strength, and fiery charisma. This is a pivotal moment in your month, when your energy levels spike and your willingness to take risks dramatically increases. Mars in your sign is a call to action. You're ready to fight for your desires, assert your individuality, and be unapologetically visible. You might begin a fitness journey, or take on a new leadership role, or launch a personal project that demands courage and flair. You're more magnetic than usual. Just be mindful not to bulldoze others with that intensity. As we move into Taurus season on April 19th, the Sun enters Taurus, illuminating your 10th house of career, visibility, and legacy. This is a significant moment for Leo risings, as your ruler now moves into a sector that governs reputation, status, and purpose. The next 4 weeks are crucial for refining your public image, making strategic professional moves, and anchoring your long-term path for what you want to be known for. With the Sun here, your efforts are more visible, and your presence has a commanding weight. This is a time for ambition with endurance, slow, steady moves that pay off in tangible results. On April 20th, the Sun in Taurus forms a square to Mars in Leo, creating tensions between your need to assert yourself and the demands of your professional life. You may feel that your individuality is clashing with what's expected of you publicly, or that your personal desires don't align with your career obligations. This could surface as a conflict with a boss or authority figure, or an inner battle between pride and patience. On the flip side, this energy can be channeled into powerful performance where you prove your worth through bold and competent action. The pressure continues to build on April 23rd as the Sun in Taurus squares Pluto in Aquarius, activating your 10th and 7th houses. This aspect highlights power dynamics in relationships and your public life. Perhaps a conflict with a partner, business associate, or authority figure. You may be asked to confront where you are giving away your power or where control needs to shift in a key dynamic. A contract, an alliance, or a collaboration might hit a make or break moment, but this tension is transformative. It reveals what must evolve for you to truly lead with integrity. 3 days later, Mars in Leo opposes Pluto in Aquarius, creating one of the month's most volatile and high-stakes aspects. This confrontation between your 1st and 7th houses pits your individual will against another's. Think back to early January. The same aspect occurred. What was happening at that time? This is a time where you may feel provoked, challenged, or pressured to stand your ground. Be careful not to project your fears or insecurities, and avoid entering power struggles unless you're ready to own the outcome. Mars is the god of war, and Pluto takes no prisoners. This could show up as a confrontation in a relationship or a decisive act of independence that sets you free. Use this energy to draw clear boundaries and reclaim your sovereignty. The next day, April 27th, brings the new moon in Taurus, a significant fresh start in your 10th house of career and public image. After the tension of the prior days, this lunation invites you to plant seeds for your professional future, ones that are rooted in your authentic values. It's an ideal time to set career intentions, initiate a project, or align yourself with a long-term vision of success. You may begin building something that brings lasting stability and recognition over the coming months. Whether you're launching a business, applying for a role, or just rebranding yourself publicly, trust in the slow bloom of what you're creating. Finally, on April 30th, Venus enters Aries and energizes your 9th house once again. After the deep soul work of her Pisces journey through your 8th house, she now infuses your higher mind with passion, inspiration, and wanderlust. You may feel the urge to explore new places, engage in spontaneous adventures, or open your heart to someone with a different view. Love, beauty, and pleasure feel expansive now, especially through learning, culture, and travel. You might fall in love with a new philosophy, find new romance abroad, or begin sharing your wisdom in a more magnetic and confident way. Good luck. Okay, my Virgo risings. April 2025 is a powerful month of clarity, empowerment, and rebirth for all Virgo risings, particularly around partnerships, shared resources, and inner transformation. The astrological energy will prompt you to reevaluate emotional dynamics, financial entanglements, and your ability to trust and be vulnerable. All of this unfolds while your chart ruler Mercury takes center stage, journeying through the depths of Pisces before blazing into bold Aries. Because Mercury rules both your identity and your sense of purpose, as the ruler of your 1st and 10th houses, its movements this month are particularly important, signaling a shift from confusion and reflection to assertive action and clarity. The overarching themes include letting go of the past, transforming your relationships, and setting yourself up for a more honest, courageous version of intimacy, both with others and within yourself. The month starts on April 4th and brings a grounding and futuristic harmony as Saturn in Pisces in your 7th house of one-on-one relationships forms a supportive sextile to Uranus in Taurus, which is activating your 9th house of higher wisdom, travel, and belief systems. This transit helps you stabilize a long-term partnership or collaborative effort that's rooted in a shared vision of the future. If you've been working to grow within a romantic or business relationship, this moment offers clarity and progress. One real-life possibility is committing to someone with a different cultural, spiritual, or educational background in a meaningful way, such as moving in together or planning a joint endeavor. Alternatively, this could be a day of a legal agreement or contract connected to international ventures or a publishing project finally coming together after months of groundwork. Just 2 days later, on April 6th, the Sun in Aries forms a fortunate sextile in Jupiter and Gemini, energizing your 8th and 10th houses, those connected to shared resources and public reputation. This is a day that brings the possibility of professional expansion through the support of others. Someone may invest in you, offer mentorship, or present a new opportunity that boosts your career trajectory. This alignment may bring a powerful collaboration that catapults you into a new stage of public recognition. Another potential expression, you receiving news of a loan, a grant, or financial opportunity that allows you to invest in your long-term goals with confidence. Now, April 7th is one of the most important days of the month for you, as Mercury, your chart ruler, will go direct in Pisces, your 7th house of committed partnerships. Over the past few weeks, you may have been stuck in circular conversation, confused about where a relationship was going, or hesitant to sign any formal agreements. Now the fog begins to lift. Your judgment sharpens, and conversations that once felt muddled finally gain traction. You may find yourself re-engaging in discussions around contracts, business negotiations, or relationship boundaries. A long-lost connection might even resurface, or a recent miscommunication is clarified in a way that repairs trust and sets a new tone. Now, the full moon in Libra on April 12th falls in your 2nd house of personal finances, self-worth, and values. This lunation is a culmination point, asking you to take stock of what you own, what you need, and what you truly value. If you've been undercharging for your work, overextending yourself financially, or undervaluing your contributions in a relationship or at work, this full moon could be a wake-up call. You may decide to renegotiate your salary, let go of unnecessary spending habits, or finally pay off a debt. Emotionally, it's about knowing your worth and choosing balance in how you give and how you receive. On April 12th, Venus stations direct in Pisces in your 7th house, signaling forward movement in your love life and forward movement in your partnerships. During the retrograde, you may have been re-examining your expectations in relationships, reflecting on past wounds, or reconsidering what kind of support you truly deserve from a partner. Now you're more tuned to what matters. Forgiveness may be on the table, or you could experience a romantic reconnection, either with someone from your past or with a renewed version of your current partner. In a business context, this can also be the point where stalled negotiations begin to move again. 3 days later, on April 15th, Mercury enters Aries, shifting into your 8th house of intimacy, transformation, and shared resources. Here, your chart ruler becomes more assertive, passionate, and strategic. This is a powerful placement for confronting what's been hidden, emotionally, financially, or even psychologically. You may be ready to have deep, truthful conversations around vulnerability, sexuality, power dynamics, or even money. This is also an excellent time to pursue research, therapy, or any kind of investigative or healing work that requires your focus and courage. One real-life manifestation of this could be diving into estate planning or simply revisiting your investments. Another might be beginning therapy or confronting a taboo topic that ultimately liberates you. April 16th deepens the psychological terrain as Mercury conjuncts Neptune in Aries, creating a surreal blend of logic and intuition in your 8th house. This is a potent day for dream work, intuitive downloads, and deep conversations, but also one where it's easy to get lost in fantasy or projection. Trust your instincts, but double check financial facts and relational assumptions. You might have a deeply healing exchange with someone you trust, or receive symbolic insight about a long-standing emotional pattern. Alternatively, you may need to pause before signing anything binding, especially if the terms feel too good to be true. On April 17th, Mars enters Leo and begins energizing your 12th house of the subconscious mind, endings, and rest. This shift marks a quieter but more reflective period where action is best taken behind the scenes. Rather than pushing outwardly, you're being asked to confront inner conflict, any unfinished emotional business, or private ambitions that require incubation. This is a transit for clearing karmic baggage and laying low. One possible expression of this energy is throwing yourself into a creative or spiritual practice that brings catharsis and inner renewal. Another might be the quiet release of something, or even someone, that no longer aligns with your deeper truth. On April 19th, there's a new tone as Sun enters Taurus, lighting up your 9th house of long-term vision, travel, and higher wisdom. With Mercury still in your 8th house, you're doing deep inner work, but now the Sun reminds you to look ahead, to look forward. This is a great time to commit to learning something new, planning travel, or sharing your insights publicly through teaching or publishing. You're being asked to connect to a healing journey, to a higher truth, and think about how you can share that wisdom with others. This shift supports deeper purpose and growth beyond the immediate or the material. The next day, April 20th, features two important aspects. First, Venus in Pisces forms a final sextile to Uranus and Taurus, reigniting creative and romantic sparks in your 7th and 9th houses. This is a beautiful day for travel or spontaneity with a partner, or to meet someone unexpectedly through spiritual or intellectual settings. Alternatively, a long distance or cross-cultural connection might reveal its potential in a fresh, new, and surprising way. The same day, Mercury will sextile Pluto in Aquarius, forging a deeply transformative link between your 8th and 6th houses. This is excellent for healing conversations around work, power, and boundaries, particularly those related to emotional labor, burnout, or psychological patterns that affect your daily life. April 26th may be one of the most confrontational moments of the month, as Mars in Leo opposes Pluto in Aquarius, activating your 12th and 6th houses. This is a push-pull dynamic between your need for rest and your daily obligations. Think back to early January when this aspect was taking place prior. You may be facing burnout or dealing with tension in the workplace, especially if unspoken resentments are surfacing. It could also bring up buried fears around control or health. Use this energy wisely by stepping back from power struggles and focusing on what needs to be healed or cleared privately. On April 27th, there's a beautiful opportunity for renewal with a new moon in Taurus. This is planting seeds in your 9th house. This is the beginning of a new cycle related to travel, education, philosophy, marketing, or publishing. Now is the time to commit to a new worldview. Say yes to a spiritual or educational journey, or set intentions for expanding your perspective over the next 6 months. You may start a new course of study, decide to move abroad, or begin sharing your insights more publicly through writing or speaking. Finally, on April 30th, Venus enters Aries and joins Mercury in your 8th house. With both planets now illuminating this intense, transformative zone, themes of passion, power, and vulnerability are intensified. Venus here adds a sensual, magnetic tone to your intimate life and can attract resources through partnerships and collaborations. This can be a time of financial opportunity or romantic intensity. You may feel more comfortable claiming what you want, especially when it comes to trust, sex, and shared emotional investment. Have a great April. Okay, Libra rising. April 2025 is a month of powerful renewal and emotional recalibration for Libra risings. While significant energy is activating your 6th and 8th houses throughout the month, themes of healing, self discipline, shared resources, and deeper intimacy are coming into focus. Most importantly, Venus, your chart ruler, plays a starring role, making multiple aspects, including a station direct and a sign change. As the planets that govern your sense of harmony, connection, beauty, and balance, Venus's movement through the sensitive Pisces and bold Aries this month directly impacts your health, your relationships, and how you share your energy with others. You're being asked to balance the dreamy with the realistic, the private with the public, and the spiritual with the physical. As we move from a gentle healing phase into a more passionate, active one by the end of the month, your relationships to service, intimacy, and love itself may transform in profound ways. The month starts on April 4th, where Saturn in Pisces in your 6th house of work, routines, and health forms a supportive sextile to Uranus in Taurus in your 8th house of shared resources, transformation, and emotional depth. This combination brings a stabilizing and inventive energy to how you structure your life and navigate vulnerability. It's a day for making practical yet inspired shifts, perhaps implementing a new wellness routine that helps you release old emotional patterns, or agreeing to a shared financial commitment like insurance, debt consolidation, or even therapy. A second possibility is creating a sustainable work system that frees you from stress and increases productivity, possibly through a collaboration or unexpected opportunity for passive income. On April 6th, there's a particularly lovely moment as Venus and Pisces will trine Mars in Cancer, creating harmony between your 6th house of service and your 10th house of career. This is a productive and magnetic energy, especially powerful for improving professional relationships or adding creative flair to your public work. You may feel a strong desire to beautify your workspace or help others, or even make your daily work more meaningful. One real-life manifestation might be receiving praise or attention from the higher-ups due to a project you've handled with grace. Another could be discovering a new sense of purpose in your job that makes you excited to show up every day. The next day, April 7th, is rich with movement, especially for Venus. On this day, Venus conjuncts Saturn in Pisces in your 6th house, asking you to get honest about the structures in your day-to-day life, especially as they relate to love, health, and service. While this may initially feel sobering, it's also an opportunity to build something lasting, be it a healthy relationship with your body, a more stable work schedule, or a recommitment to your well-being. In some cases, you may feel emotionally distant or unsupported in a partnership, prompting you to set new boundaries. This could manifest as deciding to prioritize self-care over overextending yourself for others, or making a long-term commitment to a routine or professional path that supports your heart. Later that same day, Mercury stations direct in Pisces, clearing mental fog in your 6th house. You may have been feeling confused, exhausted, or overwhelmed in your daily routine or workplace. Now, clarity begins to return. Communication becomes more effective, and your thoughts feel sharper. If you've been waiting on a work-related answer, health news, or had trouble making a decision about your lifestyle, this is the time things start falling into place. You might also reconnect with old clients, revive a shelved wellness plan, or gain insight into a lingering health concern. Also on April 7th, Venus sextiles Uranus and Taurus, giving you another layer of emotional spontaneity and insight, this time across your 6th and 8th houses. This is an ideal time to release rigidity in how you approach healing, whether physical or emotional, and embrace something more intuitive or innovative. A wellness breakthrough could arrive through alternative medicine or holistic therapies. Another potential, you make an emotional or sexual connection with someone through work, or discover that vulnerability in the workplace leads to unexpected depth and support. A few days later, April 12th brings the full moon in Libra, lighting up your 1st house of identity, self-image, and the physical body. This is a major emotional climax where something personal reaches full visibility. You may have an important realization about who you are becoming, particularly in contrast to the roles others expect you to play. It could be time to release people-pleasing tendencies or patterns that keep you from standing in your power. One manifestation of this lunation could be personal transformation in your appearance, a shift in your physical well-being, or a major decision that redefines your priorities and direction in life. On the same day, Venus will station direct in Pisces, ending her retrograde in your 6th house. This marks a turning point in how you relate to daily rhythms, habits, and your relationship to self-sacrifice. Over the last several weeks, you may have felt unsure of how to best support your body, your work, or a romantic relationship that was complicated by imbalance. Now, there's forward momentum. Perhaps a renewed commitment to taking care of yourself, or a rekindling of affection in a professional or healing partnership. You may return to an old creative passion that supports your well-being, or bring closure to a draining workplace dynamic. On April 15th, Mercury moves into Aries, charging into your 7th house of committed partnerships and contracts. Communication becomes direct and fiery. You're more willing to speak your truth, confront relationship dynamics head on. This is a powerful time to renegotiate terms in a partnership, initiate important discussions with a significant other, or collaborate with someone on a bold new venture. A real-life example of this could be entering a passionate conversation with a partner that finally clears the air. Another could be signing a new business deal or starting a counseling session that opens doors to connection and clarity. 2 days later brings a social shift as Mars enters Leo, energizing your 11th house of friendships, future goals, and community. This placement amplifies your desire to lead and be seen within your networks, bringing a passionate energy to group endeavors. Mars here supports networking, activism, and a collective creative project you could be working on. You may feel called to speak up in a community setting, advocate for a cause, or pursue long-held dreams with courage. This could look like rallying support around a personal passion, or finally putting yourself out there for something big, an award, a campaign, or a creative launch. On April 19th, the Sun moves into Taurus, activating your 8th house of shared resources, intimacy, and deep emotional healing. This begins a season of depth, privacy, and transformation. You may be thinking more about emotional entanglements, financial independence or interdependence, or even psychological patterns that have held you back. The coming weeks are perfect for healing, therapy, or financial restructuring. It's a time to shed what no longer aligns with you and step into a more powerful, honest version of yourself. The next day, April 20th, continues the dynamic energy with Venus sextiling Uranus again, offering one more spark of beauty and surprise to your health, work, and emotional life. This may be a second chance at a breakthrough from earlier in the month, particularly one involving romantic healing, a supportive coworker, or a shift in how you emotionally or physically tend to yourself. It's a reminder that love doesn't have to be rigid, and healing doesn't have to be hard. The same day, Mercury sextiles Pluto, forging a powerful connection between your 7th and 5th houses. This is ideal for romantic partnerships, artistic collaborations, or a deeply cathartic conversation. You might confess something very important to a lover or receive news that reawakens your heart. A few days later, April 24th brings another Venus-Saturn conjunction, echoing themes from earlier in the month. This second meeting reinforces your responsibility to self-care, long-term healing, and establishing healthier boundaries in love and work. If you didn't take action earlier, now is the time. It's also a day when you begin to ask how you show up for someone in need, or choose between fantasy and reality in a work or health-related partnership. 2 days later, on April 26th, there features Mars opposite Pluto, drawing tension between your social world, the 11th house, and your creative or romantic desires, the 5th house. You may feel caught between what a group expects of you and what your heart truly wants. Think back to early January, where the same aspect occurred. This could result in a clash with a friend over your goals, or a power dynamic in a creative project that comes to a head. One path forward may be to step back and focus on your personal integrity, even if it means going against the grain. April 27th delivers the new moon in Taurus, a grounding and stabilizing lunation in your 8th house. This is a time to set intentions around emotional renewal, sexual healing, financial empowerment, and all the hidden layers of your psyche. Whether you're working to rebuild trust, start a financial plan with a partner, or explore your own inner alchemy, this is a moment to begin again with patience and depth. It's also excellent for initiating long-term investments or beginning healing work that will unfold over the months to come. Finally, April 30th brings a dramatic tone shift as Venus enters Aries, your opposite sign, and moves into your 7th house of partnerships. After weeks of deep emotional and physical recalibration, your chart ruler now becomes flirtier, bolder, and more assertive in how she loves. This is the green light to pursue a romantic or business partnership with passion and courage. You might feel inspired to take the lead in your relationships, make a bold romantic gesture, or finally say yes to someone new. It's a hot, magnetic transit that energizes your love life and puts others in awe of your charm and charisma. April 2025 is a very interesting month, and I wish you luck. Okay, my Scorpio risings. April 2025 is a deeply transformative and empowering month for you, marked by the push and pull of internal growth and external visibility. With your 2 chart rulers, Mars, your traditional ruler, and Pluto, your modern ruler, both highly active and culminating in an explosive opposition at month's end, the astrological weather is intense, courageous, and potentially catalytic. This month calls you to stretch beyond your comfort zone, especially in career, creativity, and relational dynamics, while simultaneously addressing the emotional undercurrents that have been bubbling just below the surface. There's a heavy focus on your 5th, 7th, and 10th houses this April, spotlighting your creativity, romantic entanglements, business relationships, and the legacy you're building. Expect dramatic shifts in how you share power, express your individuality, and lead. By the end of the month, the new moon in Taurus promises a grounding reset in your partnerships, asking you to plant long-term seeds for sustainable connections. April begins with Mars in Cancer, your traditional chart ruler, sextiling Uranus and Taurus on the 4th. This brings exciting and potentially unexpected developments between your 9th house of expansion and your 7th house of committed relationships. You may be inspired to take a leap of faith in a partnership, especially with someone from a different background or culture, or initiate a bold conversation around shared beliefs. This energy supports spontaneity, particularly in romantic or business partnerships, where innovation can open new doors. You may also be motivated to travel or explore a new spiritual or philosophical path with a partner, or meet someone who dramatically changes your perspective. That same day, Mars also forms a stabilizing trine to Saturn in Pisces, linking your 9th house with your 5th house of pleasure, creativity, and love. This aspect brings the perfect mix of inspiration and discipline. You may find yourself working hard towards a creative goal or establishing long-term plans around a romantic relationship. Saturn's influence makes things real, grounding Mars's fire in endurance. One possible manifestation is solidifying a romantic connection through a shared creative or spiritual pursuit. Another might be committing to a long-term passion project or artistic endeavor that reflects your evolving worldview. 2 days later, April 6th enhances the emotional and romantic tone of the month as Venus in Pisces trines Mars in Cancer, forming a deeply romantic and intuitive bridge between your 5th and 9th houses. With Venus ruling your 7th house of relationships, this alignment amplifies love, pleasure, and idealism. This is a beautiful day for intimate connections, artistic inspirations, or spiritual bonding. You may find yourself swept up in a creative flow or experiencing renewed passion in a relationship. It's also an ideal time for adventures, whether literal or inner emotional exploration. You might find yourself beginning a love affair that feels fated or simply feeling more in tune with your heart's desire. April 7th is a day of clarity and maturity. Mercury stations direct in Pisces, bringing resolution to confusion in your 5th house. After weeks of potential misunderstandings in romance, creative ventures, or with children, conversations now become clear. Decisions that were once elusive now feel accessible. This is a great time to move forward on artistic collaborations, dating, or matters of fertility. That same day, Venus co-joins Saturn in Pisces, reminding you to get serious about your joy. You may be making a long-term decision in love, such as defining a relationship, setting new creative goals, or learning to discipline your pleasures for greater sustainability. This may also be a day when you set loving boundaries with someone in your romantic life, or commit to investing in your own passions in a more structured way. Also on April 7th, Venus sextiles Uranus in Taurus, sparking magic and momentum between your 5th and 7th houses. This is an excellent moment for romantic surprises, artistic breakthroughs, or renewed excitement in a partnership. If you're single, someone completely unexpected may enter your life. If you're committed, this energy can rekindle the spark through spontaneity and playfulness. This aspect supports bold moves in love. Perhaps a proposal, moving in together, or trying something new together that revitalizes your connection. 5 days later, the full moon in Libra on April 12th highlights your 12th house of endings, healing, and the subconscious. This is a deeply emotional lunation, encouraging you to release something from the past in order to make space for peace. It may be the culmination of a long emotional cycle, perhaps one involving grief, solitude, or spiritual exhaustion. You're invited to let go of guilt or lingering resentment that no longer serves your growth. One possible manifestation is completing therapy or spiritual work that helps you clear a major internal block. Another could be the quiet decision to end a private relationship that's becoming energetically draining. On the same day, Venus stations direct in Pisces, restoring forward momentum and movement in your 5th house of pleasure, romance, and creativity. If the past few weeks have left you feeling uncertain about matters of the heart or creatively uninspired, things now begin to resolve. You may reconnect with someone who disappeared during the retrograde or finally understand what your heart truly needs. Venus direct here restores joy to your romantic and artistic world, allowing flirtation, beauty, and inspiration to return in a fuller and more tangible form. April 14th brings a potent shift as Juno retrogrades into Scorpio, your 1st house of identity. Juno represents partnership and commitment, and in retrograde motion through your sign, you may find yourself revisiting deep relational themes. Issues of jealousy, control, or possessiveness may arise. You might question whether your partnerships truly support your individuality or if you've been compromising your personal power. This is a chance to explore how you show up in love and what you require from others to feel secure. Realizations here can lead to more empowered and conscious connections, providing you don't let fear run the show. April 15th sees Mercury enter Aries, moving into your 6th house of daily routines, wellness, and work. Communication speeds up and sharpens in your professional life, and you may feel motivated to advocate for your health or boundaries at work. This is a great time to initiate new projects, organize your schedule, or have candid conversations with coworkers. You might also start researching fitness or diet plans, or initiate new wellness routine with renewed enthusiasm. Mercury here helps you streamline, refine, and express your intentions in clear, confident ways. 2 days later, April 17th, is a pivotal day as Mars enters Leo, moving into your 10th house of career and public life. This is a major shift for Scorpio risings, as your traditional chart ruler now activates your most visible house. Mars here pushes you to be bold, assertive, and ambitious. You may take on a leadership role, launch a professional project, or start building a public platform. There may be moments of ego conflict or power struggles, but if channeled wisely, this is your time to shine. One manifestation could be a promotion or new job offer that thrusts you into the spotlight. Another might be initiating a bold new entrepreneurial pursuit or creative career path. 2 days later, the tone shifts as the Sun enters Taurus, lighting up your 7th house of partnerships. With Venus now direct, this is a time to stabilize, build, and reestablish trust in your closest relationships. This solar season emphasizes loyalty, sensuality, and long-term commitment. You may find yourself more focused on your partner's needs or seeking a more grounded approach to love. If you've recently started something new, this is the time to make it real. The next day, April 20th, intensifies the landscape as the Sun squares Mars in Leo from your 7th to your 10th houses. This aspect can bring conflict between your personal relationships and your career demands. You might find yourself pulled between public obligations and private promises, or face tension with a partner over professional ambitions. Alternatively, this could manifest as a power couple dynamic. If you're aligned, this energy can be used to make major moves together. Just be mindful of clashing egos. April 23rd turns up the intensity as the Sun squares Pluto in Aquarius, linking your 7th and 4th houses. This is a day when power dynamics within your home or with a partner come to the surface. Perhaps you're realizing how much control a loved one has over your emotional environment, or vice versa. It's a moment to confront patterns of manipulation, emotional withholding, or outdated family conditioning that hinders your relationships. If you're living with someone, this day may demand a conversation about shared responsibility or even boundaries. April 26 is one of the most significant, potentially explosive days of the month, as Mars opposes Pluto, pitting your traditional and modern chart rulers against one another across your 10th and 4th houses. This is a showdown between career ambition and emotional security. Think back to early January where this last occurred. You may feel torn between a desire to push forward professionally and an equally strong pull to protect your personal life. This could manifest as a public conflict rooted in private tension or a clash with a boss or parent figure. You're being asked to find balance between control and surrender, between outer success and inner peace. However, the next day offers a much-needed grounding with the new moon in Taurus, planting seeds in your 7th house of committed partnerships. This is your opportunity to begin anew. Whether you're starting a new relationship, refreshing an existing one, or setting intentions around a business collaboration. This new moon favors grounded, long-term commitments based on mutual values and trust. One manifestation could be entering a new relationship that has real staying power. Another may be beginning couples therapy or redefining what partnership means to you in this new season of growth. Finally, on April 30th, Venus enters Aries, moving into your 6th house and bringing beauty, charm, and connection into your everyday routines and wellness habits. This marks the beginning of a period where you may find pleasure in productivity and flirtation in mundane places, such as the office, gym, or even your morning commute. This energy encourages you to find joy in service, take pride in your work, and maybe even begin a health or beauty regimen that invigorates your body and your spirit. Good luck this month. Okay, my Sag risings. April 2025 brings Sagittarius risings into a month of shifting gears and renewed clarity, especially after a dreamy and somewhat disorientating start to the year. With a focus on your 4th, 6th, 7th, and 10th houses, the themes now revolve around home, health, career, and relationship commitments. Areas of life that are stabilizing, expanding, and subtly transforming. What makes this month particularly pivotal for you is that your chart ruler, Jupiter, is active and influential, bringing opportunities for growth and success, especially through connection and communication. Jupiter's continued transit through Gemini, the sign opposite to yours, emphasizes relationships, partnerships, and how you collaborate or exchange ideas with others. This month holds the potential for long-term investments in your future, but it asks that you navigate a balance between big picture ideas and ideals and the necessary groundwork. As Jupiter forms a key aspect and your ruling planet becomes even more pronounced, you're likely to feel ready to lead with your heart and step into new roles, both in love and in your career. The month opens with a harmonious alignment on April 4th between Saturn in Pisces, your 4th house of home, family, and emotional roots, and Uranus in Taurus, your 6th house of work, daily routines, and physical health. This sextile delivers a practical but innovative energy, encouraging you to restructure your lifestyle in a way that honors both tradition and progress. You might implement an unconventional but effective routine at home, or make changes to your work schedule that promote long-term stability. One possible outcome of this aspect could be a decision to relocate for work or set up a home office that improves your productivity and well-being. Another may be finally creating a more consistent wellness regime that supports both your emotional and physical health, something you stick to because it's aligned with your evolving values. 2 days later, April 6th, brings a beautiful alignment between the Sun and Aries, activating your fifth house of joy, romance, and creative expression, and Jupiter in Gemini, your chart ruler, now transiting your seventh house of partnerships. This is one of the most auspicious days of the month, offering expansion and opportunity in both love and collaboration. Your charisma shines brightly now, and people are drawn to your confidence and optimism. This could manifest as meeting a romantic partner through a social or creative context, or striking up a business collaboration that has the potential to grow into something long-lasting and mutually beneficial. You may feel more seen and supported than usual, and deservedly so. It's a day to share your talents, your ideas, and vision with others, knowing that allies and admirers are ready to join on your journey. April 7th holds several transits that draw your attention inward. First, Venus co-joins Saturn in Pisces, your fourth house, asking you to ground your feelings around home, family, or emotional security. While this transit may initially feel sobering, perhaps revealing gaps in your sense of comfort or connection, it also gives you the tools to build something lasting. You might be faced with making a firm decision about where or how you live, or you may need to reestablish boundaries within your family system. On a practical level, this could involve committing to a long-term home situation, whether a mortgage, move, or renovation. Alternatively, it might be the day you finally get serious about healing family wounds or nurturing your inner foundation. Also on April 7th, Mercury stations direct in Pisces, clearing up communication and confusion in that same fourth house. Over the past few weeks, you may have experienced delays in home and family matters, or found it difficult to articulate your emotions clearly. Now, clarity begins to return. Conversations about your living situation, family roles, or emotional well-being can begin to move forward with greater understanding and resolution. You may receive news about a housing issue or have an honest heart-to-heart with someone close to you that changes the emotional landscape in a positive way. 5 days later, the full moon in Libra on April 12th lands in your 11th house of community, friends, and long-term dreams. This lunation illuminates your role in group settings, social networks, and shared ideals, possibly bringing a turning point in a friendship or team effort. You might become more aware of which alliances are truly aligned with your values and which ones have run their course. One potential expression of this full moon could be stepping away from a group or project that no longer serves your vision. Another might be a celebration of progress, an event or moment where your contributions are acknowledged, helping you feel more confident in your future goals. Later that same day, Venus stations direct in Pisces, adding emotional momentum to the fourth house. If you felt stuck, uncertain, or nostalgic around family matters, home life, or your inner emotional needs, now is the time things start to shift. You may experience a renewed sense of peace or beauty at home, or begin healing from past emotional wounds. Venus here helps you reconnect with what makes you feel safe, what makes you feel loved and rooted, whether that's physical space or the emotional bonds you've been nurturing. By April 15th, Mercury enters Aries, moving into your fifth house. This transit brings playful, confident, and quick-thinking energy to your creativity, romance, and self-expression. You may feel the urge to speak your truth more freely, pitch your ideas with enthusiasm, or flirt with abandon. Communication in dating becomes more direct and passionate, and creative projects or issues with children benefit from bold and pioneering energy. One real-life manifestation may be initiating a new artistic pursuit, while another could be engaging in invigorating conversations with someone who captures your heart or your imagination. 2 days later, on April 17th, Mars enters Leo, activating your ninth house of higher learning, travel, philosophy, and spiritual growth. Mars here energizes your desire to explore the world and expand your mind, pushing you to take bold leaps towards freedom and knowledge. This could be the start of a major travel plan, an intense course of study, or a legal or publishing endeavor that requires courage and conviction. You may feel called to fight for your beliefs, or take a more active role in advocating for a cause that inspires you. This could show up as applying for a teaching or speaking role, or planning a trip, perhaps internationally, that opens up new spiritual and intellectual doors. April 19th marks the sun's entrance into Taurus, activating your sixth house of work, health, and routine. After the passionate swirl of Aries season, this shift grounds your focus and encourages you to bring more stability to your daily life. You may now feel more invested in building sustainable systems, improving your health, or becoming more organized. The sun here wants you to slow down and tend to the physical aspects of your life that support your bigger dreams. This is a time when practical improvements like changing your diet, refining your work schedule, or committing to daily self-care can lead to longer-term well-being. 5 days later, on April 24th, Venus once again co-joins Saturn in Pisces, reinforcing themes around emotional maturity, boundaries, and commitment in your home and family life. This second meeting offers a moment of deeper understanding or a final decision that solidifies what began earlier in the month. If you've been wrestling with the decision about where to live, who to live with, or how to handle a family dynamic, this is the time to step up and choose with confidence. You might also recognize that your inner security is being built up slowly and deliberately. And that's okay. Solid foundations take time. On April 6th, there's an intense face-off as Mars in Leo opposes Pluto in Aquarius, linking your 9th and 3rd houses. This is a callback to early January, where the same aspect last occurred. This will create a tension between your belief systems and your everyday thinking or communication. A philosophical disagreement may come to a head, or you may need to confront an authority figure or peer whose ideas challenge your own. There's power in your voice, but only if you use it consciously. One potential manifestation is speaking your truth on a public platform and dealing with backlash. Another could be a dramatic debate or argument that forces you to rethink a long-held opinion. April 27th brings a moment of new beginnings with the new moon in Taurus, planting seeds in your 6th house. This lunation is ideal for setting intentions around work, health, and your daily lifestyle. If you've been wanting to change your routine, improve your physical well-being, or create better habits, this is the moment to start fresh. You may also receive news about a new job or project that aligns with your need for stability and purpose. Think of this as a planting season. Tend to the small details now, and by the time summer arrives, you'll start to see the fruits of your labor. Finally, on April 30th, Venus enters Aries, re-energizing your 5th house of romance, creativity, and pleasure. After a long stretch focused on emotional introspection and home matters, this transit feels like a breath of fresh air. Venus in Aries is bold, playful, and assertive, encouraging you to flirt, create, and fully enjoy the moment. This is a fantastic time to pursue love, artistic projects, enjoy your children, or simply to rediscover what lights you up in life. You may find yourself drawn to someone who excites you or start expressing yourself more confidently and more unapologetically. One real-life outcome could be the start of a new romantic relationship, kickoff of a new creative renaissance that reinvigorates your spirit, or the rebirth of a relationship with a child. Enjoy the month and good luck. Okay, Capricorn risings. April 2025 is a significant month for you. It brings tangible turning points in communication, creativity, and emotional integration, especially as you focus on the delicate balance between structure and spontaneity. Your chart ruler Saturn plays a central role this month, making powerful aspects that shape your inner narrative and external expression. With Saturn currently transiting Pisces and influencing your 3rd house of communication, mindset, and learning, your words carry weight this month, and the themes of truth, maturity, and conscious connection are unavoidable. The April skies push you to refine your voice, solidify relationships built on mutual understanding, and begin rebuilding your confidence from the inside out. The presence of major planetary activity in your 3rd, 5th, and 7th houses suggests this is a time for reworking how you relate to siblings, lovers, partners, and even yourself. This month's lunations activate your public and private self, challenging you to move through transitions with grace and a clear sense of purpose. The month opens on April 4th with one of the most constructive transits of the season. Saturn in Pisces sextiles Uranus and Taurus, linking your 3rd house of communication and ideas with your 5th house of creativity, children, romance, and self-expression. This rare and supportive aspect offers the opportunity to solidify something meaningful, perhaps a writing project, teaching initiative, or creative plan. By pairing Saturn's focus and discipline with Uranus' innovation and risk-taking, You may find that a sudden flash of insight gives way to a long-term strategy for a passion project, or that a romantic relationship takes on a new dynamic rooted in honest communication. This could manifest as launching a blog, a new course, or artistic collaboration that speaks to both your heart and your intellect. Alternatively, this may be the time to speak truthfully with a romantic partner or child in a way that opens doors for greater connection and trust. On the same day, Mars in Cancer trines Saturn in Pisces, further reinforcing this productive alignment between your 7th house of committed partnership and your 3rd house of communication. Mars adds the fire to Saturn's structure, making this an ideal time to take initiative in your one-on-one relationships, especially those requiring mature conversations, healing past misunderstandings, or drawing clearer boundaries. Whether in romance or business, there is an opportunity here to take something real and make it lasting. This transit might inspire you to sit down with your partner and lay out a shared vision, or speak your truth in a difficult but necessary dialogue. For others, this could show up as formalizing a collaborative agreement or building a new structure within an existing connection. April 7th becomes emotionally charged as Venus co-joins Saturn in Pisces in your 3rd house. This transit brings beauty and seriousness together in the realm of speech, thought, and sibling relationships. Conversations around love, commitment, and boundaries become more important now, but they may carry a weighty tone. You may feel pressure to address issues you've been avoiding, especially in relationships where communication has been cloudy. It's also a moment of creative realism, where dreams must meet the discipline of form. You might choose to invest your energy into a writing or learning goal that requires focus and dedication. Alternatively, this could manifest as setting firmer limits in how you engage with family members or neighbors, especially if certain dynamics have felt draining or unclear. On April 7th, Mercury stations direct in Pisces, helping you regain clarity after weeks of miscommunication and fog around 3rd house themes. You're likely to feel mentally sharper and more confident in your ability to articulate what you truly mean. If you've been discussing or dealing with technological breakdowns, scheduling confusion, or unresolved discussions, this is the time when forward motion resumes. You might find yourself reconnecting with a sibling, clearing up a misinterpreted message, or making decisions related to publishing, education, or travel that have been on hold. 5 days later, on April 12th, the full moon in Libra illuminates your 10th house of career, public life, and reputation, marking a culmination or turning point in your professional journey. This lunation brings a clear contrast between your private foundations of the 4th house and your public persona. Perhaps you receive recognition for your work or complete a project that's been building for months. Alternatively, you may feel pulled between professional obligations and your personal life, prompting a need to rebalance. One possible outcome is a job offer or shift in career direction that clarifies your next steps. Another could be conscious decision to step back from a public-facing role to focus on restoring a more personal balance in your life. On the same day, Venus will station direct in Pisces in your 3rd house, reinforcing the return of harmony and clarity in your everyday connections. If there have been delays or confusion in relationships involving siblings, neighbors, or close friends, they may now begin to resolve. You may also feel newfound senses of creativity and softness in your voice and written work. This could also look like finally expressing something you've been wanting to say for a long time, or receiving words of affirmation from someone close that help merge old wounds. On April 15th, it will usher in a bold shift as Mercury enters Aries, moving into your 4th house of home, family, and emotional security. Your thoughts now become more focused on your foundation, and conversations with family members may begin to heat up. Mercury in Aries speaks quickly and directly, so be mindful of how you express yourself in emotionally sensitive situations. This is a great time for resolving issues at home, planning a move, or diving deep into personal development work. Real-life manifestations might include beginning therapy, to explore perhaps childhood roots or issues, or even launching a home-based business idea that's been percolating within your mind. 2 days later, on April 17th, Mars will enter Leo, activating your 8th house of shared resources, intimacy, and transformation. This transit brings intensity, passion, and power dynamics to the forefront. You may also feel a push to face lingering fears or confront issues around trust, control, or financial entanglements. With Mars here, you have the courage to dive into topics that others might avoid, and your willingness to face emotional depth can result in real breakthroughs. You could begin to address debt, reorganizing of shared resources, or a deepening of personal relationships through honest emotional confrontation. It's also a transit that heightens physical passion and sexual energy. But with Leo's flair, it may come with a dramatic edge. 2 days later, on April 19th, you'll see the Sun enter Taurus, moving into your 5th house of creativity, children, romance, pleasure. This solar shift brings light and energy to parts of your life that make you feel alive. Over the next few weeks, you're encouraged to pursue joy, indulge in your artistic side, or spend quality time with loved ones. If you felt creatively blocked, this can reinvigorate your passions. It's also a great time for dating or reconnecting with your inner child through play and expression. Whether you're launching a new creative project or exploring a new romantic connection, this season invites you to open your heart. 5 days later, on April 24th, repeats a major theme as Venus once again co-joins Saturn in Pisces. While the initial conjunction of April 7th helped you begin setting communication boundaries or refining how you connect with others, this second meeting brings a more integrated sense of maturity. This is a chance to revisit those lessons and finalize commitments, whether in romantic partnerships, a sibling bond, or a creative endeavor that hinges on shared communication. It's a moment of taking responsibility for your words and recognizing the power of those words to shape your relationships. 2 days later, on April 26th, the energy grows even more intense as Mars and Leo will oppose Pluto and Aquarius, creating a tense dynamic between your 8th and 2nd houses. This is your shared resources versus your personal resources. This same aspect occurred in early January. So think back to what was happening then, and you may see similar themes. This could be a day when a power struggle emerges, especially around money, trust, and control. You might find yourself in a confrontation over financial boundaries or reevaluating what you truly value in an intimate partnership. This tension can be channeled into transformation, but only if you're willing to release what no longer serves your empowerment. Next, on April 27th, a breath of fresh air occurs as the new moon in Taurus will plant seeds in your 5th house. This lunation is perfect for setting intentions around creative pursuits, romantic new beginnings, or reconnecting with a childlike sense of wonder. Whether you're launching a new project that brings you joy or exploring a new relationship, this is the beginning of something worth nurturing. The grounded, steady energy of Taurus ensures what you begin now can grow roots and become a lasting part of your life. Finally, on April 30th, Venus enters Aries, moving into your 4th house. After weeks of emotional introspection and commitment around your voice and communication, Venus will now bring warmth, beauty, and desire to your home life. You may feel called to beautify your space, host loved ones for a get-together, or explore what comfort and intimacy really mean to you. This could also reignite passion in private relationships, perhaps through candid conversations or physical reconnection with a partner. It's a beautiful way to close the month. From a strong inner foundation, you can now move forward with joy, passion, and resilience. Good luck this month. Okay, my Aquarius risings. April is a pivotal month of inner anchoring and outer evolution for you. The focus falls heavily on stabilizing your values, recalibrating your financial priorities, and redefining how you engage in close relationships, especially as new clarity emerges around your sense of self-worth and purpose. As an Aquarius rising, Saturn is your traditional chart ruler, and its movements through Pisces this month will dominate your personal development story. With Saturn traveling through your 2nd house of income, resources, and personal value systems, you're being asked to get serious about how you earn, what you own, and most importantly, what you believe you deserve. Saturn's series of aspects in April brings opportunities for growth, responsibility, and maturity, while other planetary activity invites you to step into new dynamics in your home, partnerships, and your voice. You are closing the gap between your dreams and your reality, and this month brings both the vision and the tools to make that happen, especially when you're willing to slow down and honor what really matters to you. April opens with a high-impact moment on the 4th as Saturn in Pisces sextiles Uranus and Taurus, creating a harmonious bridge between your 2nd house of personal resources and your 4th house of home, family, and emotional roots. This transit is subtle yet powerful. It may bring the perfect blend of tradition and innovation in how you manage your money, home, and emotional well-being. Perhaps you've been working towards financial independence or trying to establish greater stability in your living environment. Now you may receive the breakthrough you've been waiting for. You could feel confident enough to invest in a property or shift your family dynamic by introducing healthier boundaries. Alternatively, this transit may offer a surprising but well-earned opportunity, such as a home business idea taking off or family support enabling a step forward in your financial freedom. On the same day, Mars in Cancer will trine Saturn in Pisces, linking your sixth house of daily work, habits, and health with the same second house that Saturn is currently structuring. This Earth-Water connection helps you get serious about improving your workflow and stabilizing your financial rhythms. Mars brings energy and action, while Saturn helps you turn effort into lasting results. One real-life manifestation may be beginning a disciplined new routine that not only supports your physical health, but also strengthens your earning power, perhaps through a side hustle, a freelance gig, or more efficient time management. Another outcome may be teaming up with colleagues or a service that provides help in streamlining a project that's been in limbo, allowing you to finally complete or monetize something you've been waiting on. 3 days later, on April 7th, is an especially significant moment for you, with your chart ruler Saturn taking center stage. That day, Venus will co-join Saturn in Pisces in your second house, emphasizing the need for clarity and maturity around finances, self-esteem, and love. This aspect may bring a reality check in the matters of value, asking you to reassess in how you invest in relationships and what you're giving, but also getting in return. While this can feel somewhat sobering, it's also a day for making meaningful commitments, such as setting clear financial boundaries with a partner or committing to a path that honors your true worth. You may also decide to pull back from a relationship or an expense that no longer aligns with your deeper sense of value. It's a beautiful time to say yes to what supports you and no to what drains you. Later that same day, Mercury will station direct in Pisces, clearing the fog that's been lingering over your money and communication for the past few weeks. If you've been struggling to sort out budgets, contracts, or verbal agreements around resources, now the lines of communication open up again. You may feel more mentally organized and ready to make smart, strategic decisions. This is a fantastic moment for renegotiating financial terms, reevaluating your spending habits, or receiving delayed payments that you've been waiting on. A few days later, the full moon in Libra on April 12th will light up your ninth house of long-distance travel, philosophy, and higher learning. This lunation brings a moment of clarity, completion, or release in your broader worldview. You may reach a turning point with a legal case, an academic journey, or a belief system that you've outgrown. This full moon could inspire you to book a major trip, finalize an education pursuit, or end a long-held ideology in favor of something new that aligns more closely with your current values. For some, this may mark the conclusion of a visa process, a graduation, or a spiritual epiphany that shifts the direction of your life from a philosophical standpoint. Also on April 12th, as if that wasn't enough, Venus stations direct in Pisces, finally moving forward in your second house after weeks of reassessing what and who you value. This retrograde likely brought up questions around worth, but both material and emotionally. Now, as Venus begins to pick up speed, you're clearer about your financial priorities and the kinds of people or pleasures you want to invest in. A stalled purchase may now go through, a creative project may once again regain momentum, or a relationship that felt uncertain may actually stabilize. Or it could dissolve, but you'd feel peace and clarity within that. 3 days later, on April 15th, Mercury will enter Aries, stimulating your third house of communication, short-distance travel, and siblings. This is a mental spark, a return of confidence in how you think, speak, and express yourself. You may feel compelled to share ideas more boldly, engage in important conversations, or take short but meaningful trips that broaden your network or knowledge. This is a wonderful time for writing, teaching, learning, or simply speaking your truth with courage and clarity. You might also initiate a new dialogue with a sibling or neighbor that clears the air or creates forward momentum. 2 days later, April 17th sees Mars enter Leo, energizing your seventh house of committed partnerships. Now begins a several-week cycle of bold, passionate energy in your relationships, both romantic and professional. Mars here brings drive and confidence, but also the potential for conflict if power dynamics are not balanced. This is a time when you may feel pushed to define what you want in a partnership and take action to get it. For some, this means entering a new relationship with someone dynamic and assertive. For others, it may spark a conflict that reveals deeper truths. It's also excellent for joint ventures where both parties are willing to show up fully. April 19th marks the Sun's entry into Taurus, highlighting your fourth house of home, emotion, family, and roots. This solar season encourages you to slow down and reconnect with what truly grounds and nurtures you. Over the next few weeks, themes of stability, security, and emotional restoration will take center stage. You might begin a home project, reconnect with family, or prioritize nesting and rest. It's also a fertile time for establishing new emotional habits that reinforce your inner resilience. April 24th brings a second and final Venus-Saturn conjunction in Pisces, again highlighting your second house of wealth, self-worth, and financial value. If you've been doing the inner work of clarifying what you truly need to feel secure, this is the moment of commitment. You may solidify a financial plan, enter a long-term partnership built on mutual values, or let go of outdated attachments to people or things that no longer reflect who you are. There's a grace and acceptance that can't be forced, and a quiet strength in building your future from a place of self-respect. 2 days later, April 26th brings a powerful and possibly intense alignment as Mars in Leo opposes Pluto in Aquarius, creating tension between your 7th house of partnerships and your 1st house of identity. Think back to early January. Similar themes may arise. This aspect can bring up power struggles, projection, or clashes of will, particularly in your closest relationships. You may feel pressure to assert your individuality or be forced to confront hidden motivations in a partnership. While this energy can be challenging, it can also be cathartic and deeply transformational. You have an opportunity to stand your ground and stand in your power, to clear the air and step into a more authentic version of yourself in relation to others. The next day, on April 27th, there's a unique, soft, and grounding moment as the new moon in Taurus plants seeds in your 4th house. This lunation invites you to initiate a new chapter in your home or emotional life, whether that means setting down roots, finding a place to call your own, or establishing new emotional rhythms that support your long-term well-being. You may decide to move, begin a home-based business, or simply redecorate your space to better reflect who you are becoming. Emotionally, this is a chance to anchor yourself and create safety from the inside out. Finally, April wraps with Venus entering Aries on April 30th, bringing warmth and flirtation to your 3rd house. Your words become more charming, your ideas more magnetic, and your social connections more exciting. This is a wonderful time to explore new writing projects, meet people through learning or travel, and enjoy the simple pleasures of conversation, creativity, and curiosity. Romance may also blossom in your local environment or through shared mental stimulation. Flirtation could be in the air, and you are speaking with both passion and precision. Good luck. Okay, finally, Pisces rising. You're my favorite, so let's jump in. April 2025 will mark a defining month of personal clarity, emotional maturing, and the steady construction of the next chapter of your life. With so many planets, including Venus, Mercury, and Saturn, activating your 1st house of self and identity, you're being asked to see yourself with clearer eyes, own your voice, and embody your evolving desires in a way that balances idealism with true commitment. The energy of this month is especially personal for you, not only because of the planetary traffic through your 1st house, but also because of both your chart rulers, Jupiter, your traditional ruler, and Neptune, your modern ruler, playing active roles in shaping your mindset, communication, and overall sense of purpose. Jupiter, currently in Gemini in your 4th house, expands the emotional roots and home base from which you operate. Meanwhile, Neptune remains in Aries, coloring your 2nd house of self-worth and resources. With intuitive, imaginative energy, this month will start to unfold as you're being initiated into a more grounded version of yourself. One who's being asked to hold space for dreams, but doesn't shy away from doing the work to bring them into the material world and make them a reality. April begins with a gentle but powerful push forward. On April 4th, Saturn in Pisces, currently moving through your first house of selfhood and personal trajectory, forms a harmonious sextile with Uranus and Taurus in your third house of communication and mental processing. This moment offers a beautiful fusion of structure and spontaneity, inviting you to find a new, possibly unconventional way to express yourself. If you've been working to get clearer about your identity or direction, this transit can offer a breakthrough. Perhaps you finally feel ready to speak about a subject that you felt too sensitive to do so before, or maybe it felt too complex to do so before, and you're discovering a new and unique way to share your message, whether through writing, public speaking, or local collaboration. One possibility is the launch of a communication-based project like a blog or a podcast. Another might be a long overdue conversation with a sibling or a neighbor that finally clears the air and solidifies a fresh understanding. On that same day, Mars in Cancer will form a trine with Saturn in Pisces, linking your fifth house of creativity and children and pleasure with your first house of identity. This is a fantastic time to invest energy into a creative pursuit that aligns with your personal evolution. You may also feel inspired to work on an artistic project, step into a leadership role in a romantic relationship, or take yourself and your talents more seriously. This alignment supports putting structure behind your passions, such as beginning a consistent practice with your art, dedicating time to dating someone new with long-term potential, or formalizing plans around children, fertility, or parenting. On April 7th, there carries a potent emotional weight as Venus co-joins Saturn in your first house, further emphasizing your maturation and self-definition. Venus represents love, beauty, and connection. But in a conjunction with Saturn, there's a seriousness that demands you to get real about how you relate to others and how you perceive yourself. This transit asks you to assess your self-worth, your personal style, and overall relational patterns. Perhaps you realize you're done compromising your authenticity in relationships, or that it's time to commit more deeply or more fully to self-love and self-respect. In real-world terms, this could be the day you establish new relationship boundaries, commit to a physical transformation such as a style revamp or a health goal, or feel ready to show up in your partnerships with a more sense of emotional responsibility and confidence. On that same day, Mercury will also station direct in Pisces, lifting the fog that's been clouding your thinking, communications, and self-expression over the past few weeks. With Mercury retrograding through your first house, you've likely been reworking the way you present yourself, whether through your words, tone, or physical image. Now that Mercury is moving forward, you feel mentally sharper and more articulate. This is a wonderful time to return to abandoned conversations, to finalize decisions, or simply revisit plans that had stalled out in March. Your voice will become clearer and you're more aligned with what you say, and also how you want to say it. This dreamy electric energy continues on April 7th as Venus in Pisces will sextile Uranus in Taurus, activating your first and third houses. This is a charming and spontaneous day that may bring an unexpected message, flirtation, or flash of inspiration. You might meet someone new through your neighborhood or online platforms, or suddenly decide to express your feelings in a way that opens new emotional doors. It's a great day for intuitive self-expression or even a style refresh that lets your inner creativity shine on the outside. 5 days later, on April 12th, the full moon in Libra illuminates your 8th house of intimacy, shared resources, and psychological transformation. This lunation brings a deep emotional truth to the surface, one that may involve vulnerability, trust, or finances. If you've been navigating issues of emotional interdependence, this moon could bring closure, clarity, or an important breakthrough. Perhaps you finally let go of an old fear, or forgive someone, perhaps yourself, or address a shared financial situation, such as a loan or an inheritance. One possibility is a relationship reaching a new level of emotional depth. Another could be setting a firm boundary that allows you to reclaim your energy from entanglements that are no longer serving your growth. On the same day, Venus will station direct in Pisces, marking a pivotal shift in how you perceive your own beauty, worth, and relational needs. With Venus having moved backwards through your first house since early March, you've been reevaluating your desires, what you attract, and what you allow in. Now you're emerging with a clearer sense of self and are ready to express love, but also receive it more fully. You may feel inspired to update your personal aesthetic, renew a commitment to self care, or re engage with others in a more heartfelt and grounded way. 3 days later, on April 15th, there's a shift in mental focus as Mercury enters Aries, activating your second house of finances, value, and personal resources. Mercury here boosts your confidence in money, conversations related to money, as well as helping you take initiative in earning, budgeting, and advocating for your own worth. You may receive ideas around new streams of income or feel ready to launch a product. It's a great time to ask for a raise or monetize a skill. It's also a time to speak clearly about what you need, whether that's in love, work, or any place where you're sharing your energy. That energy deepens on April 16th when Mercury co-joins Neptune in Aries in your second house. This dreamy transit can be both creatively inspired but also mentally foggy, depending upon how you channel it. You might receive a deeply intuitive insight about your financial path or spiritual purpose, but be wary of wishful thinking or overpromising. It's best to wait before signing anything legally binding on this day. But it's an excellent time and moment for journaling, for vision boarding, or for using positive affirmations to align your mindset with your ultimate goals. The next day sees Mars enter Leo, igniting your sixth house of health, work, and routine. Over the next several weeks, you'll be driven to improve your efficiency, assert your needs in the workplace, and get physically stronger. Mars here energizes your habits and daily rhythm, so now's the time to build stamina through action. This might show up as launching a new fitness plan, taking on a leadership role in your job, or finally establishing a routine that reflects your ideal lifestyle. Just watch for burnout or overcommitment. Leo energy is bold but can be dramatic, so consistency will serve you better than just intensity. 2 days later, April 19th grounds that energy as the Sun enters Taurus, activating your third house of communication, learning, and local connection. Over the next month, your mind becomes more focused on practical thinking, tangible plans, and connecting with your immediate environment. This is a wonderful time for studying something new, committing to a writing goal, or deepening your relationship with siblings or neighbors. You're more mentally grounded and thoughtful, making it easier to build momentum behind your goals. The next day, April 20th, brings another Venus-Uranus sextile, again lighting up your first and third houses. This repeating theme suggests a continued blossoming of spontaneous connections, romantic flirtations, or inspired communication. You may have another chance to connect with someone in your local environment or share something vulnerable that creates a deeper intimacy. There's something magnetic about you this day. Your authenticity and openness are drawing others in a natural way. Later that week, Venus co-joins Saturn in Pisces for the second time, bringing closure to the emotional themes that first emerged around April 7th. Now you're clearer on who you are, what you value, and how you want to show up in love and in life. This may be a day of heartfelt conversations, emotional boundaries, or making peace with a version of yourself that you've outgrown. Real-world manifestations may include committing to a healthier relationship dynamic, letting go of a one-sided situation, or investing in a personal project or look that truly reflects your maturity and evolution. 2 days later is a more intense day as Mars in Leo opposes Pluto in Aquarius, drawing tension between your 6th house of work and your 12th house of the subconscious. This is a classic burnout signature if you've been pushing too hard without tending to your inner world. Think back to early January when this aspect last occurred. You may see similar themes. You could experience conflict with an authority figure or hidden resistance that pushes you to face deeper fears about control, productivity, and perfectionism. The best move is to pause and assess what's driving your behavior. This opposition can be powerfully transformative, but only if you're willing to confront what's lurking beneath the surface. The next day, April 27th, delivers a steady, hopeful tone with the new moon in Taurus, your third house. This new moon invites you to begin a fresh cycle around communication, learning, and how you engage with the world around you. You might start a new course, commit to a writing, marketing, or journaling project, or simply reframe your inner dialogue with more compassion and clarity. It's a perfect time to reach out, build new bridges, and initiate the kinds of conversations that will support your long-term goals and growth. Finally, April ends with Venus entering Aries on April 30th. Venus is now entering your second house of money and self-worth. After a deeply emotional and introspective Venus retrograde in your sign, this transit shifts the focus outward. Venus and Aries help you embrace your desires unapologetically, attract resources, and act boldly in financial matters. You may feel more confident in asserting your worth and self-worth, make purchases that reflect your independence, or pursue financial opportunities that bring both pleasure and profit. In short, April is a month that things are going to start moving forward from April, or from March, I should say. So good luck, and drop a comment and let us know how it goes. Take care. Okay, well, that wraps our breakdown of the month of April 2025 for each sign. I hope this helped you understand what's ahead and how to navigate the upcoming changes. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe. Please hit the bell or drop a comment to let me know how this month of transits is showing up in your life. If you're ever interested in a private reading, I offer birth chart, career, relationship, and general readings. All the details for bookings are in the description box below. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care and good luck.